The coffee burned my tongue, but I barely noticed. My hands trembled as I stared at the emergency meeting notification on my phone. Merger announcement. CEO introduction. Attendance mandatory. 2 p.m. Something felt wrong. Our company had been secretive about the merger for weeks, and now suddenly we'd meet the new CEO? My gut twisted with an inexplicable dread. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Sungmin said, sliding into the chair across from me in the break room. His usual playful grin faded when he saw my face. "Min-jae, what's wrong?" "I don't know," I whispered. "Something about today feels off." He reached over and squeezed my hand. "It's just merger jitters. Everyone's nervous about layoffs and restructuring. You're our best project manager, you'll be fine." But it wasn't about the job. This feeling was deeper, older. Like a wound I thought had healed, suddenly remembering how to bleed. My phone buzzed. A text from Tae-hyun. "Good luck with your meeting. Dinner at 7? I'll pick up your favorite jjajangmyeon." I typed back a heart emoji, guilt gnawing at me. Tae-hyun deserved more than half-hearted responses, but lately, everything felt mechanical. 3 years of marriage, and we'd settled into comfortable routine. No fights, no passion, just existence. Was this all there was? At 1:55 p.m., I stood outside the conference room, smoothing my shirt for the third time. The hallway buzzed with nervous energy as employees filed in, whispering speculations about the mysterious new CEO. "I heard he's only 35, someone murmured. "Young and ruthless, probably. These corporate types always are." "I heard he trained in America." America. The word pierced through me like ice water. I shook my head. Ridiculous. Korea had millions of business graduates from America. It didn't mean anything. The lights dimmed as I took my seat in the back row. A projector flickered to life, displaying our company's new organizational chart. My eyes scanned for my name, found it, still employed, thank God, then drifted to the top. Kang Jae-won. The room tilted. Air vanished from my lungs. No. It couldn't be the same person. Kang was a common surname. Jae-won was a common name. It was probably just a coincidence, just my paranoid mind playing. The door opened. Time fractured into slow motion. First, I saw the shoes, expensive leather Oxfords, the kind he always said he'd buy when he made it. Then the suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. Then his hands, long fingers that once traced patterns on my skin, now holding a tablet. Then his face. 10 years had sharpened his features. The soft boy I loved had become a man, jawline more defined, shoulders broader, an air of authority that made everyone sit straighter. But those eyes, those dark, intense eyes that used to look at me like I was his entire universe, they swept across the room and found mine. Everything stopped. His professional smile faltered for a fraction of a second, so brief that anyone else would have missed it. But I saw the recognition, the shock, the flash of something raw and unguarded before his CEO mask slammed back into place. "Good afternoon," his voice rang out, deeper than I remembered. "I'm Kang Jae-won, your new CEO." My heart hammered against my ribs so violently I thought everyone could hear it. This wasn't happening. This was a nightmare, a cosmic joke. "I've reviewed all personnel files," he continued, clicking through slides. "I'm impressed by the talent here. I look forward to working with each of you." His eyes kept drifting back to me. Each glance felt like touching a live wire. I should leave. I should run. But my body refused to move, trapped in the gravity of his presence like a moth drawn to flame. "Some of you may have heard I spent the last 10 years in America," Jae-won said, and my stomach dropped. "But Korea has always been home. I'm glad to finally return, to reconnect with what I left behind." Was he looking at me when he said that? Or was I imagining it? The presentation ended. Employees began filing out, chattering about the young, handsome CEO. I tried to slip out with the crowd, but his voice cut through the noise. "Park Min-jae?" Everyone turned. My face burned as I slowly raised my hand. "Could you stay behind? I have questions about the Hanwoo project you're managing." God no. But I couldn't refuse in front of everyone, couldn't make a scene. I nodded mutely as the room emptied, until it was just us. The door clicked shut. Silence screamed between us. Jae-won stood across the conference table, hands braced on the polished wood, looking at me like I was a mirage that might disappear. Up close, I could see the tiny changes, a small scar near his temple, faint lines around his eyes, a silver watch I didn't recognize. Min-jae, he breathed, and hearing my name in his voice after 10 years shattered something inside me. Mr. Kang, I said formally, desperately clinging to professionalism like a shield. You had questions about the Hanwoo project? His jaw clenched. Don't what? Don't pretend you don't know me. He moved around the table, closing the distance between us. 10 years, Min-jae. I've been searching for you for 5 of them. I stepped back. I don't know what you're talking about. If there's nothing work-related, I came back for you. His voice cracked. 5 years ago, I came back from America. You were gone. Your phone disconnected. Your apartment empty. I thought something happened to you. Tears burned behind my eyes. You left first. I didn't have a choice. My father. There's always a choice. The words exploded out of me. You chose America. You chose your career. You chose not to fight for us. I chose to build a future for us. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands, scrolling frantically. Look. He shoved the screen in front of my face. Photos. Dozens of them. Screenshots of apartment listings near Han River. Investment portfolios. Business plans with my name listed as co-owner. I spent 5 years building an empire so I could come back and give you everything, he whispered. Everything you ever wanted. I bought the apartment overlooking the river. The one you pointed out that night we walked across Maple Bridge. Remember? You said, someday I want to wake up to that view. My hand flew to my mouth. I did remember. That cold November night, wrapped in his coat, pointing at the lights reflecting on the water. You're lying, I choked out. I've never lied to you. He reached for my hand, and I jerked away like his touch would burn. His eyes dropped, landing on my left hand. On my wedding ring. The color drained from his face. You're married? I clutched my hand to my chest, suddenly ashamed, though I had no reason to be. Yes. How long? 3 years. He staggered back as if I'd physically struck him. 3 years. So when I came back 5 years ago, searching every neighborhood, calling every mutual friend, you were already with someone else. You left me. Tears finally spilled over. You left without saying goodbye. One day you were there, and the next you were gone. What was I supposed to do? Wait forever? Yes. His voice broke completely. You were supposed to wait for me because I was coming back for you. Because we promised. He couldn't finish, emotion choking the words. My phone buzzed. Tae-hyun, leaving the hospital now. See you soon, red heart. The heart emoji felt like an accusation. I have to go, I whispered. Min-jae. This was a mistake. You being here is a mistake. I ran. I actually ran from that conference room, his broken voice calling my name echoing behind me. In the elevator, I finally let myself collapse against the wall, sobbing. Jae-won was back. And nothing would ever be the same. The knife clattered against my plate, too loud in the quiet restaurant. Min-jae. Tae-hyun's concerned voice barely registered through the static in my head. You haven't touched your jajangmyeon. Are you feeling sick? I forced myself to look at him, really look at him. Tae-hyun's handsome face creased with worry, his doctor's instinct already diagnosing me from across the table. Strong jaw, kind eyes, hands that had held mine through my father's funeral, through every hard moment of the past 3 years. Reliable. Present. Everything Jae-won wasn't. I'm fine, I lied, stabbing at the noodles. Just, the merger announcement was stressful. They didn't fire anyone, did they? He reached across the table, covering my hand with his. Steady. Your department is safe? My department. If only that was what terrified me. Everyone's safe. The words tasted like ash. The new so seems competent. Competent. What a pathetic word for the man who once promised me the world, who apparently bought an apartment overlooking Han River because of one throwaway comment I'd made a decade ago. Tae-hyun squeezed my hand. You're trembling. Min-jae, what's really wrong? Before I could answer, my phone lit up on the table. An email notification. From Kang Jae-won. Subject: Project Review Urgent. Min-jae, we need to discuss the Hanwoo project timeline. My office. Tomorrow. 8 a.m. Don't be late. JW. The casual sign-off, W, sent ice through my veins. He used to sign all his love letters that way. Little notes slipped into my textbooks, messages written on coffee shop napkins. Meet me after class. I have something to show you. JW. You looked beautiful today. Not that you don't always. JW. I love you. I love you. I love you. JW. Work email. Tae-hyun asked, but something in his tone had shifted. Sharper. More alert. Just a project meeting, I said quickly, flipping my phone face down. Too quickly. Tae-hyun's eyes narrowed slightly, that analytical doctor's gaze that missed nothing. The new CO emails at 7 p.m. about breakfast meetings? He's probably still on American time. Jet lag. Tae-hyun released my hand, returning to his food. But the air between us had changed, charged with unspoken questions. We ate in silence. Each bite of noodles felt like swallowing stones. Later that night, I stood in our bathroom, staring at my reflection. Tae-hyun's toothbrush rested beside mine in the holder, blue next to green, domestic and ordinary. Down the hall, I could hear him watching the news, the volume low. My phone buzzed. Against every shred of common sense, I looked. Jae-won, I'm sorry about today. I shouldn't have ambushed you like that. But we need to talk. Really talk. Please. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I should delete it. Block him. Tell Tae-hyun everything right now before this spiraled into something unforgivable. Instead, I typed, there's nothing to talk about. What we had ended 10 years ago. His response came immediately, then why are you still responding to my messages? I stared at the screen, heat flooding my cheeks. He was right. If it was truly over, I would have ignored him. The fact that I was engaging meant. What did it mean? 8 a.m. tomorrow. Don't make me wait again, Min-jae. I've waited long enough. I deleted the entire conversation and splashed cold water on my face. Tae-hyun was already in bed when I emerged, reading a medical journal. He looked up, patting the space beside him with a soft smile. Come here. You've been tense all evening. I slipped under the covers, and he immediately pulled me against his chest, strong arms encircling me. This was our routine. His warmth, his steady heartbeat, the faint smell of his cologne. Comfort. Security. Everything I'd built after Jae-won destroyed me. Tell me about the new Zo, Tae-hyun said quietly, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder. What's he like? My breath caught. Why do you ask? Because you've been different since that meeting. Shaken. His hands stilled. I know you meant. Something happened today beyond a normal corporate announcement. I could feel his eyes on me in the darkness, waiting. He's young, I finally said. Ambitious. Apparently trained in Silicon Valley. The usual SEO type, all business. Handsome. The question hung in the air like a blade. I didn't notice. Tae-hyun made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh. You're a terrible liar. But he kissed the top of my head, pulling me closer. It's okay to find someone attractive. You're married, not dead. If only he knew how much I wished I were dead to these feelings. We lay in silence, Tae-hyun's breathing eventually evening out into sleep. But I remained wide awake, staring at the ceiling, trapped between the man holding me and the ghost who'd returned to haunt me. At 2 a.m., I finally fell into fitful sleep. I dreamed of rain and empty airports, of Jae-won's young face pleading with me to wait, of promises written on napkins dissolving in water. In the dream, I was running, always running, but couldn't remember if I was running towards something or away. My alarm screamed at 6 a.m. Tae-hyun had already left for his early hospital shift, leaving only a note on his pillow. You were tossing all night. Are you sure you're okay? Call me if you need anything. I love you. I crumpled the note in my fist. By 7:45 a.m., I stood outside Jae-won's office, my heart a war drum in my chest. Through the frosted glass door, I could see his silhouette, tall, broad-shouldered, pacing like a caged animal. Waiting for me. I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. This was it. The moment I could still turn back, could claim an emergency, could run away like I did yesterday. I could transfer departments, maybe even quit. Tae-hyun made enough money, we'd be fine. But my traitorous hand knocked anyway. Come in. I opened the door. Jae-won stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, backlit by the rising sun over Seoul. He'd loosened his tie, top button undone, looking like every professional fantasy and personal nightmare rolled into one. You came, he breathed, turning to face me. I half expected you to run again. I'm here for the Hanwoo project, I said flatly. Nothing else. Of course. His smile was knife-sharp. Close the door, Min-jae. We have a lot of projects to discuss. The door clicked shut behind me with the finality of a prison cell. And despite everything, despite Tae-hyun's love, despite my vows, despite a decade of distance, my treacherous heart whispered, "Welcome home." The file folder hit the desk between us with a sharp slap. Open it, Jae-won commanded, his voice cold and professional. But his hands gripped the edge of his desk so tightly his knuckles had gone white. I stared at the unmarked folder like it might explode. If this is about the Hanwoo project, open it. My hands trembled as I lifted the cover. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Not of projects or timelines or corporate nonsense. Photographs of me. Me at a coffee shop 3 years ago, laughing at something on my phone. Me leaving my apartment building last winter, bundled in a red coat. Me and Tae-hyun at a restaurant 6 months ago, his arm around my shoulders. The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattering across the polished floor. What the hell is this? I whispered, backing toward the door. Have you been stalking me? Searching, Jae-won corrected, moving around the desk with predatory grace. There's a difference. After I came back 5 years ago and couldn't find you, I hired investigators. They tracked you down 2 years ago. 2 years. He'd known where I was for 2 years. Why didn't you, I couldn't finish the sentence, contact you? His laugh was bitter. Look at the dates on those photos, Min-jae. Really look. I knelt, gathering the scattered images with shaking hands. Coffee shop, 3 years ago, before Tae-hyun. Apartment building, 2.5 years ago, newly married. Restaurant, 6 months ago, anniversary dinner. Every photo was taken from a distance. Never invasive. Just observing. The coffee shop photo was the day I found you, Jae-won said quietly. I was across the street. I saw you smile, and for one moment, I thought I could just walk over and... His voice cracked. Then he showed up. The doctor. He kissed you and you looked so... content. Tae-hyun, I whispered. I know his name. Something dangerous flickered in Jae-won's eyes. Dr. Kim Tae-hyun. Cardiac surgeon. Seoul National University Medical School. Published 3 papers on minimally invasive valve replacement. Volunteers at free clinics on weekends. He recited the facts like accusations. Perfect. Everything I'm not. Stop it. Why? He stepped closer. Does the truth hurt? Should I also mention how he proposed to you at Namsan Tower? How pedestrian. How utterly predictable. Heat flooded my cheeks. How dare you? I would have taken you to the coast, Won continued, his voice dropping to something raw and aching. That beach in Sokcho you always talked about. I would have written it in the sand at sunrise, so the ocean could witness before washing it away. Temporary and eternal all at once, just like you wanted everything to be. Tears burned my eyes because yes, I had said that. One drunk night in university, philosophizing about love and impermanence. And he'd remembered. After 10 years, he'd remembered. I'm married, I said desperately, holding up my ringed hand like a talisman. Happily married. Liar. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne. Different from before, more expensive, but underneath it, something achingly familiar. If you were happy, you wouldn't be shaking right now. You wouldn't have dark circles under your eyes from not sleeping. You wouldn't look at me like you're drowning and I'm both the anchor and the life raft. You're delusional. Am I? His hand reached out, not touching me, but close enough that I felt the heat of his palm near my cheek. Then tell me you don't feel this. Tell me your heart isn't racing. Tell me you don't wonder what would have happened if I'd never left. Every day, I breathed before I could stop myself. The confession hung between us like shattered glass. Jae-won's control finally snapped. He grabbed my hand, not roughly, but with desperate tenderness, and pressed something cold and metal into my palm. A key. What is this? Address is on the tag, he said hoarsely. The apartment. The one overlooking Han River. I bought it 7 years ago, before I even came back to Korea. I've kept it empty all this time because it was always meant to be ours. Jun, I can't. I'm not asking you to leave him. Not yet. His thumb traced circles on my wrist, directly over my racing pulse. Just go there. See what I built for us. See what we could have had. What we could still have. This is insane. Love is insane. His eyes bore into mine. Meet me there. Tonight. 8 p.m. If you don't come, I'll know your answer. I'll transfer you to a different department. I'll stay away. I'll let you keep living your safe, comfortable, half-alive existence. Half alive. Anger flared through my fear. You don't know anything about my life. I know you're not writing anymore. The words stopped my heart. You were going to be a novelist, remember? You had notebooks full of stories, dreams of publishing. When's the last time you wrote something that wasn't a corporate email? The key felt heavy as lead in my hand. He was right. God help me, he was right. I'd abandoned writing the year after he left, couldn't bear the emotions it dredged up. Tae-hyun didn't even know about that part of me. I have dinner plans with Tae-hyun, I said weakly. Cancel them. I can't just. 8 p.m. Min-jae. He released my wrist, stepping back, his CO mask sliding back into place. Or don't come, and we'll both learn to live with regret. I stumbled out of his office at 8:30 a.m., the key burning a hole in my pocket. Sung-min caught me in the hallway, his cheerful expression morphing into concern. You look like you've been interrogated, he joked, then froze. Wait, you've been crying. What did that new CO do? I'll report him to HR so fast. Nothing, I cut him off. He did nothing. I'm fine. Min-jae. My phone rang. Tae-hyun's name flashed on the screen. I answered with false brightness. Hey, how's the hospital? Crazy morning. 3 emergency surgeries. He sounded exhausted. Listen, I know we planned dinner tonight, but Dr. Lee called in sick. I have to cover his shift. Rain check. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. Of course, I heard myself say, don't worry about it. You're the best. Love you. Love you too. The line went dead. Sung-min stared at me with knowing eyes. Tae-hyun cancelled? I nodded mutely. And you have somewhere else to be tonight, don't you? When I didn't answer, he gripped my shoulders. Min-jae, whatever you're thinking of doing. I'm just going to see an apartment, I whispered. Just looking. That's all. But we both knew I was lying. At 7:55 p.m., I stood outside a luxury high-rise in Hanamdong, the key clutched in my sweating palm. The river glittered in the distance, reflecting city lights like fallen stars. I had 5 minutes to decide, go home to my empty apartment and safe marriage, or walk through that door and risk everything. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Inviting. Inevitable. I stepped inside. The elevator climbed to the penthouse, and with each floor, my resolve crumbled. 27th floor. You can still turn back. 28th floor. This is betrayal. 29th floor. Tae-hyun trusts you. 30th floor. The doors are opening. The hallway was empty, elegant, suffocatingly quiet. Only one door, penthouse A. My hands shook as I inserted the key, and for a moment, I prayed it wouldn't work, that this was all some test I could still fail gracefully. The lock clicked open. The apartment was dark except for the city lights streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. And there, silhouetted against the glowing Han River view, stood Jae-won. He'd changed from his suit into jeans and a black sweater. Casual, vulnerable, devastatingly familiar. This was the Jae-won I remembered. The one who used to wait for me after class, hands in pockets, that hopeful smile. "You came," he breathed, and the raw relief in his voice nearly broke me. I shouldn't have. But I stepped inside anyway, the door closing behind me with soft finality. He didn't move toward me, just gestured around the space. "Look around. Please." I forced myself to breathe, to focus on the apartment instead of him. Hardwood floors, minimalist furniture, an open kitchen with marble countertops. Beautiful. Expensive. Empty. Not empty. My breath caught as I noticed the details. A vintage typewriter on the desk by the window, the exact model I drooled over in that antique shop in Insadong years ago. Bookshelves lined with first editions of my favorite novels. A reading nook with the perfect leather chair angled toward the river view. "The study is through there," Jae-won said quietly, pointing to a doorway. I walked like a woman in a trance. The study was smaller, intimate, with walls painted the exact shade of cream I'd once described as the color of possibility. A massive desk faced the windows. On it, my hands flew to my mouth. Notebooks. Dozens of them, their spines carefully labeled with dates. My old notebooks, the ones I thought I'd lost in the chaos of moving after university. "How did you?" "You left them at my apartment the week before I left for America," Jae-won said from the doorway. "I've kept them safe all these years. I've read them so many times the pages are worn. Your stories, Min-jae. They're extraordinary." I opened one with trembling hands. My handwriting from a decade ago, young and looping. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Waited. "That one's about us," Jae-won said softly. The coffee shop scene on page 15, that was our third date. The rain scene on page 42, that was the night I first told you I loved you. Tears spilled down my cheeks. "You remember?" "I remember everything." He moved closer but still didn't touch me. "I remember you said you wanted a space flooded with natural light to write. I remember you wanted bookshelves that reached the ceiling. I remember you said if you could write anywhere in Seoul, it would be overlooking this river because water helps you think." "Stop." The word came out broken. "I built this for you," he continued relentlessly. "Every detail. Every choice. For 7 years, I decorated this space imagining you here. Writing your novels. Living your dreams. Being happy. With you," I whispered. "With me," he confirmed. "Yes." I spun to face him, anger and anguish warring inside me. "You had no right. No right to keep these notebooks, to build this fantasy, to come back and—" "I never stopped loving you," he said simply. "Not for one single day in 10 years. Can your husband say the same?" The question was a knife between my ribs. "Tae-hyun loves me," I said defensively. "I don't doubt that." Jae-won's smile was sad. "But does he know you? Does he know you mouth the words when you read novels you love? Does he know you organize books by the emotional journey, not alphabetically? Does he know you cry at the end of happy movies because you're overwhelmed by beauty?" Each question landed like a blow because the answer was no. Tae-hyun didn't know these things. We'd built our relationship on present compatibility, not shared history. "He knows the important things," I insisted weakly. "Does he know why you stopped writing?" The question shattered me. "That's not fair." "Nothing about this is fair." Jae-won's control finally cracked, emotion flooding his voice. "You think I wanted to leave? My father was dying, Min-jae. His company was collapsing. I had 1 week's notice before I had to fly to California to save everything he'd built. 1 week, and I spent 6 days of it trying to figure out how to ask you to wait, how to promise you I'd come back. You never said goodbye," I choked out. "Because I couldn't." He ran his hands through his hair, devastation etched in every line of his face. "I came to your apartment that last night. I stood outside your door for 2 hours, hand raised to knock. But I was so afraid. Afraid you'd beg me to stay, afraid I wouldn't be strong enough to leave if you did. So I wrote you a letter. I slipped it under your door." The world tilted. "What letter?" I never got any letter. Horror dawned in his eyes. The apartment. You were moving that week. You told me you were moving in with your friend Sungmin. The letter, he staggered back. It must have been lost in the move. 10 years. 10 years of misunderstanding, of thinking he'd abandoned me without a word, built on a lost letter. What did it say? I whispered. Jae-won's voice cracked. It said wait for me. It said I love you more than my own future. It said I'm going to America to build something worthy of you, and I'll be back in 6 months. It said don't forget me, please, don't fall in love with anyone else, because you're the only person I'll ever love. I was crying openly now, years of grief and anger and loss pouring out. 6 months became 5 years. My father's death was just the beginning. The company was worse than we thought. Embezzlement, lawsuits, everything falling apart. By the time I could breathe, you'd vanished. His own tears reflected the city lights. I tried everything to find you. Every mutual friend claimed they didn't know where you went. Your phone was disconnected. It was like you'd been erased. I changed everything, I admitted. After 6 months of silence, I thought you'd forgotten me. Started over. New number, new apartment, threw myself into work. When Sungmin introduced me to Tae-hyun at a hospital charity event. I couldn't finish. You built a life without me. I survived without you, I corrected. There's a difference. Jae-won closed the distance between us finally, his hands framing my face with devastating gentleness. Are you surviving, Min-jae? Or are you just existing? When's the last time you felt truly alive? His thumb brushed away my tears, and the touch ignited something dormant inside me, something I'd buried so deep I'd convinced myself it was dead. This is wrong, I whispered even as I leaned into his touch. I know. I'm married. I know. I should leave right now. I know. His forehead pressed against mine. But you won't. Because you feel it too. This thing between us, it never died. It's been waiting. We've been waiting. Jae-won. Tell me you don't love me anymore, he pleaded. Tell me and I'll let you go. I'll transfer you to a different company with a glowing recommendation. I'll sell this apartment. I'll disappear from your life. Just tell me you don't love me. The words should have been easy. I had a husband, a marriage, a life. But standing in this apartment built from a decade of devotion, holding my old dreams in my hands, feeling Jae-won's heartbeat racing against mine. I couldn't lie. I can't, I sobbed. God help me, I can't. His lips found mine, and the world ended and began again. Tae-hyun and I renewed our vows in a small ceremony. Sungmin was there, ugly, crying as usual. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real and it was ours. I heard Jae-won move to Singapore for a new venture. Sometimes I wondered what if, but then Tae-hyun would smile at me over breakfast, and I knew I made the right choice. Some love stories are about the one who got away. Mine is about the one who stayed.